Alright, so I'm thinking I'm going to do a little video just kind of on installing a Megasquirt kit. Or it's not micro, but Megasquirt. So here I have all the computer. I already went ahead and installed some of the software on my computer. I'm going to be just using the light version, at least at first. If I need to, I'll upgrade it. So I think there's a paid version you can get for the software, but I don't think I'll need it for my application. I'm not running Boost or Nitrous or anything yet, so, but the ECM's in here. I haven't even opened it up yet, so, but first things first, what I'm going to do is go ahead and get into installing the AFR gauge. I went ahead and went to Summit Racing today, and picked up one of these. They're, I think, like 180 bucks or so, but it's a gauge you can install in a pod cluster or in your center console somewhere. I'm probably just going to haphazardly put it in my center console somewhere just so I can monitor and so the ECM knows what the heck's going on with AFR, you know, as far as making sure we have a good 14.7 air to fuel ratio. A little backstory on my car, basically, if you follow the last video, this car, let me do wide lens, this car, you know, I installed basic stuff. I actually had to install a chip on it. This is the expansion chip for my ECM, but looks like I had it dyno tuned. It made 315 to the wheels just about with my TFS kit, but my A9L decided to crap out on me. It looks like I had a professional install it too. I think it was just luck of the draw. You can see, I don't know if I can get focus. Some of the traces look especially burnt. Hold on, let me get out of this wide lens. You see how that's a little bit crusty looking. You can actually see there's corrosion at the bottom of some of my capacitors, if I can get it to focus. There's corrosion. It looks like there's some burnt traces. I suspect that the ECM went bad, just overtaxing it with the chip. Some sort of science or something, which kind of sucks because I paid for a dyno tune and I had it all tuned and everything, but I'd rather just you know, start over and just get the proper equipment so I can actually interface with my car. Some of you might be like, why don't you have a Holley Dominator or something? They're on back order for like a month, so I'm like, I just want to do something now. I know it's probably not the best thing to make a decision based off of, but I just wanted something to play with. I think it would be fun to do some DIY tuning. I know Holley has that option, but I really just didn't want to wait. Anyway, so this is the build. We've done a trick flow top end kit. Been a long time working on it, but you know, we have a pretty advanced cam. I think at the lobe it's making like 0.542 inches at the valve for intake, and then 0.563 at the exhaust valve. So that's how much lift and duration, and it's got a pretty big lift and duration on it. Track heat intake, trick flow, twisted wedge aluminum heads, 1.6 rockers. The whole thing. We put a nice Excetti racing clutch behind it, Pro 5.0 shifter, other stuff. It's got 410 gears in the back. We got the classic Fox body drag lights. So be sure to check in with my brother's channel. He's been doing work on the 360 in the Charger. I know a lot of people always are asking about his car, and rightfully so. So check that channel out. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and work on getting this AFR gauge, and so I'm going to go ahead and put that AFR sensor into the side of, I have long tube headers, so I'm going to go and put them inside the long tube headers, so should be pretty good and pretty fun project. Hopefully I'll get my car running good. The reason why I'm doing this too is I suspect that this ECM's gone bad because it gets spark, it gets fuel, it gets injector pulse, and it still doesn't run. I just had it dyno tuned, like it was running great, and then you know, I drove it down the road a little bit and it just cut out while it was driving. So hopefully it'll work out and we'll get a pretty good little setup going here. Okay, so we're underneath the car. There was a little bit of an issue trying to get this AFR gauge in here. Basically, this is the old O2 sensor that would have been in the car. I'm trying to keep it from blinding itself on the light. But you can see how that, like, male plug is like, it's not that big, basically, but this this plug had a super wide diameter, almost the same as the thread pitch on this. So I actually had to go in here and enlarge the hole, because if you look, these are kind of crappy headers. Let me see if I can turn my flash on or get my flashlight out. These are kind of crappy headers. I bought off Summit Racing for like 150 bucks a pair. And if you come over to this side, I don't know if I can get that in a shot. You can see where the hole doesn't actually look like it's been drilled out all the way. Here, I'm trying to get a good angle of it. I don't know if other people are going to run into this issue. I just want to make it clear. As you can see, that hole is obviously not even really big enough for an O2 sensor, not really lined up. So you have to, I took a Harbor Freight Dremel tool with some of the grinding holes and or grinding tools, and I went through a couple of the grinding wheels in the process, as you can see this one, but I eventually got it to go in nice and smooth, didn't cross thread it, just take your time with it, and you should be able to thread it in there. That's if you kind of have crappy headers like me, just something to make the car run. But yeah, that's what I ran into. I think that's just something to note for when you go to install this. Just make sure maybe you have a Dremel tool, or maybe inspect it ahead of time. Just make sure your O2 sensor holes are wide enough, because the actual AFR gauge itself has a slightly larger diameter here. So that's just something to note. But we're going to go on and go ahead and install the actual gauge itself now, the easy part. Okay, sorry for the crappy video. The shop lights are kind of washing out a lot of the image, but went ahead and once I got that sensor in, I went ahead and routed it through the firewall. I made sure not to let it get too close to the headers. I ran it kind of around the A-arm and near the sway bar, just to make sure that it didn't melt the wire or anything, because that could be bad. Oops. So the AFR gauge is technically in the car and plugged up, but I am going to need to wire up the signal wire and relay and fuses and stuff tomorrow. It's kind of late at night when I'm doing this, so our auto store doesn't really have, it's not open, but hopefully I can get those things tomorrow, wire it up, get that going. But for in the meantime, while I'm still working, I went ahead and unboxed the computer, and I'm going to go ahead, as you can see, I'm already unscrewing some stuff. I'm going to unscrew it, change it, that way it reads bank 2, which I think is driver's side bank. Bank being O2 sensor or spot. I don't think it really matters, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because this is what LMR does. Then I'll go ahead and hook up the vacuum line, and I think that's pretty much it for the computer. I think I might be missing something else, but yeah, just the vacuum line needs to be fed through. I already downloaded the software on my computer, so should be good in theory. But I gotta wire that stuff up tomorrow. I'm also gonna be wiring up a tachometer picked up from Summit Racing. Receipts. It's got a pretty simple diagram as well. It actually doesn't need a relay or anything. I just need to pick up some colored wire so I don't get confused on what's what when I'm wiring it up. But that'll be fun as well. So I'll keep y'all updated when I put the computer actually in. Okay, so went ahead and opened it up so that way I could change. Since I'm using the driver's side bank sensor, I have to change it. If you see right here, there is JB or J829. Sorry, my eyes are bad. That's what it was originally on. You see O2 sensor right there underneath O2 sensor. It says J829. You'll have to move that up to J8-43. I don't think it matters for me because I don't run any O2 sensors on it. It's a MAF car, but it never had O2 sensors for some weird reason. Whoever worked on the car before me decided you don't need them, and he like cut them out. And yeah, so anyways, I don't think it matters too much, but that's what it says to do, so I went ahead and did that. Anyways, I'm going to go and put this thing back together. I think it's pretty neat because you got your vacuum line here that's going to be read to whatever sensor this is. You got super huge capacitor. Apparently this is like a NOx sensor somewhere around here. and this is the audio jack, so you can actually plug in wired headphones to this and listen for knock. So that way, while you're tuning, if you put too much advance or too much retard into the timing, you can hear it knocking, and that way you can stop that pre-detonation from happening. I believe this is going to be what the computer actually reads from, and this is going to be the optional 26 pinned input thing that we can mess around with if we want to do different fan setups, different fan wirings, or electric water pump, or nitrous or boost regulators. So pretty interesting little system. Seems pretty user friendly so far, but we will see if it really lives up to its reputation of being reliable and easy to work with. So alrighty, so we're resuming this install. It's been a little while, a few months, just because I had some army stuff come up, but as you can see, it's kind of a mess in my car right now. Got a lot of different things I'm trying to do with it. A lot of videos to come. But basically, I got the yellow wire of this Innovate is going to be your signal wire. So you're going to want to run that from your AFR gauge to your, I think it even tells you what plug this is. But there's a signal wire in here that goes to the OBD2. Or not OBD2, but your AFR gauge in your Megasquirt. Megasquirt's pretty simple. You know, it's literally uses the same plug as the stock computer. And then other thing that you need to be aware of is there's this vacuum hose that goes to the front up here on the Megasquirt. Let me see if I can get you a good angle. So that you run through your firewall. I ran through the same harness that goes through near the hood hinge. So mine comes out. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, it comes out right here. So there's a little hole back here, which is where I fed it through. Just had to enlarge it a little bit. I know it's kind of not. It probably should have gone with this wiring harness or whatever, but I'm gonna end up tidying up a lot of this stuff. Anyways, so here's where I'm getting my vacuum source for my manifold air pressure for the Megasquirt. It's just going to B/R, which I don't know what that is, but it was plugged when I bought the car, so I just went ahead and took it from that. In theory, if you have more vacuum ports underneath your intake, for example, like your brake booster is going to go to a vacuum port underneath your intake, you could run something to that, but that's all you really need to hook up the gauge. As far as, or not the gauge, the Megasquirt. For the gauge, I have obviously a red and a black wire for 12 volt power, and then a ground. So I'm running the red wire to one of my solenoids over here, which I think is on the starter. That's always getting a 12 volt source. I know it's a mess. I'm going to wire tuck a lot of this stuff, but I just needed it out for the time being. This other colorful wire is actually going to a tachometer, so don't disregard that. But I have one of these solenoids, or sorry, one of these relays that are running the AFR gauge. So if you're not familiar with what a relay does, it's basically taking that load so you don't blow up whatever your gauge is, or your whatever you're trying to run. So it's like a safety precaution. Then I have a fusible link as well. So all you need to do is just find something that's always getting 12 volts power when the key is in the on position but not in off. That way you don't have a power draw when your car's not on. And then a good ground for your vehicle. So that's what I'm doing right now. Like I said, I'm going to wire tuck a lot of this stuff and make it look nice, because right now it's just a mess, but that's the way it is when you're first working on this stuff. So that's essentially it for the Megasquirt installation. For my Megasquirt, I've run the car already, and it's kind of running a little bit rough still. I'm having issues with my AFR gauge just because I think it's running to one pipe. I also don't have any exhaust on it right now, which I'm about to install some Purple Hornies on there, but yeah, I don't have any exhaust on it. I think I need to weld in a bung for all 4 of my pipes on the left side of my engine, or driver's side of my engine. So apologize if this video is a little bit crappy, but I'm working on it. As you can see, I get my GoPro stuff and everything, so hopefully we'll get some better video quality here in the next couple videos. So yeah, that's it. Okay, so I ended up having some pretty big issues with the AFR gauge. It was in a
one pipe bung when it needs to be near the collector. So when I was trying to tune it, it started having a lot of issues. So what I recommend is if you do go with